I think we're at the dawn of a new era, and I think it's going to be very exciting. What we're hoping to do with SpaceX is to push the envelope and provide a reason for people to be excited and inspired to be human.
SpaceX, Elon Musk's private company that we have all come to know. But it all started way back in 2002 when Elon started his little Scrappy company with only 8 other people. Today, SpaceX has over 8,000 employees. But Elon Musk was not just some rich dude who owned a rocket company. He actually became SpaceX Chief Technology Officer because no one else would come and work for him, so he taught himself.
How did you get the expertise to be the Chief Technology Officer of a rocket ship company?
I do have a physics background. That's helpful as a foundation. And then I read a lot of books and talked to a lot of smart people.
You're self-taught?
Yeah. Well, self-taught, yes, meaning I don't have an aerospace degree.
So how did you go about acquiring the knowledge?
Well, like I said, I read a lot of books, talked to a lot of people, and have a great team.
When Elon Musk saw that NASA didn't even have a plan to go to Mars, he wanted to help NASA by making people excited about space again, by flying a little greenhouse to Mars. So he went to Russia 3 times to try to buy a rocket, but they pretty much just laughed at him, and the price for the rockets was just too expensive. But when Elon Musk calculated the actual cost of all the materials that are in a rocket, he found out that it was not the materials that was expensive, and therefore decided to build the rockets himself, and therefore started SpaceX back in 2002, even though everyone thought it was crazy and he would lose all his money. And friends and family, of course, tried to talk him out of it.
I had so many people try to talk me out of starting a rocket company. It was crazy.
What did they tell you?
One good friend of mine collected a whole series of videos of rockets blowing up and made me watch those. He just didn't want me to lose all my money.
And everyone was pretty much against it, even the old American heroes that was part of history themselves fought against Elon Musk's private rocket company.
Now is the time to overrule this administration's pledge to mediocrity.
You know, there are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight in the way that you're developing it, and I wonder what you think of that.
I was very sad to see that because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough. I wish they would come and visit and see the hardware that we're doing here, and I think that would change their mind.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
And other big names in the industry was against Elon Musk and his private rocket company and thought they would never succeed. No chance. Even happy-going astrophysic Neil Tyson did not believe in Elon Musk in the beginning.
Private enterprise will not ever lead a space frontier. I don't see SpaceX as being like the private company that's going to take us to Mars. I just don't see that happening.
But even though everyone seemed to be fighting Elon Musk on this, friends and family was trying to talk him out of it, and even Elon himself didn't think there was a big chance for him to succeed. But Elon pushed forward anyway.
When something is important enough, you do it even though the odds are not in your favor.
But at the end of 2008, it looked like everyone was going to be right. Elon Musk's 2 companies, SpaceX and Tesla, was on the verge of bankruptcy.
When you had that 3rd failure in a row, did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never.
Why not?
I don't ever give up. I mean, I'd have to be dead or completely incapacitated.
SpaceX had 3 failed rockets, and Elon was out of money. But he did manage to pull enough together for a 4th try.
Running on fumes at that point, we had virtually no money.
So a 4th failure.
A 4th failure would have been absolutely game over.
Done.
Done.
SpaceX, bankrupt.
Yeah, it's bad enough to have 3 strikes. Having 4 strikes, it's kaput.
But Flight 4 was flawless. In Musk's world, it lit the darkness. Then, as often, the week of Christmas became a time when little boy dreams are answered.
NASA called and told us that we'd won a $1.5 billion contract. And I couldn't even hold the phone. It's like, I just blurted out, I love you guys.
They saved you,
Yeah, they did.
financially and maybe even emotionally.
I'll tell you what, that was definitely helpful. Yeah.
2 days later, on Christmas Eve, Tesla's investors decided to pour in more money. So you were saved in the period of 3 days.
Yeah.
By 2 completely unexpected events.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely.
So SpaceX was pretty much saved on the last day possible by NASA. And Elon should now prove that SpaceX has learned how to make rockets fly and get them into orbit. But SpaceX wanted to do a little more than that, because Elon was determined to make space travel affordable. And to do that, he needed to make rockets reusable. Again, people said that was impossible. But then SpaceX started to have these small rockets jumping around in their backyard, doing something that just seemed unreal. And in 2014, SpaceX made an autonomous drone ship where the rockets was supposed to land after having been in space, on a little square in the middle of the ocean. It all seemed just impossible, and the first couple of tries did end in explosions. But all the hard work led to an historic day, December 21st, 2015, where SpaceX did the impossible. They launched a Falcon 9 rocket that flew 100 kilometers up to the edge of space, sent the satellites on its way about 4 times the speed of sound, and flew right back to its landing site and landed back down. It was a major moment for SpaceX and will forever be a major moment in the history of spaceflight. SpaceX attempted a couple of more tries to land on the drone ship, but was unsuccessful. But on April the 8th, 2016, SpaceX did it. After another mission to the ISS, the rocket came back to Earth and this time stuck the landing on the drone ship. And SpaceX made history once again. And this rocket would make history once more because it became the first ever reflown orbital rocket. And now SpaceX kinda got the hang of it and started to stick the landings, and could show off a video from a camera that was stuck to the rocket as it came back to Earth from geostationary orbit, to show to the world something that most people didn't believe was possible. And seeing it finding its way back down to the little drone ship in the middle of the ocean was just amazing. And now people didn't laugh at SpaceX anymore, and made believers out of even the doubters.
That's where Elon Musk is. Those are the kind of people who transform not only society and the apps that are on your computer, he will transform civilization as we know it.
And SpaceX continued to land their rockets the next couple of years, slowly becoming the cheapest ticket to orbit for NASA and other customers. Because they were also the most integrated rocket company on the planet, they built almost everything themselves.
So what that means is raw metal comes in and then we build the engines, the airframe, the electronics, and we integrate all of that together. And that's all done more or less under one roof.
Metal comes in one end of this factory.
Yeah.
Spaceships come out the other.
Yes.
and showed the world that reusable rockets was not just possible, they were already doing it. And not only the rockets, the Dragon crew capsule was also reusable. In 2017 they flew a reused Dragon capsule to the International Space Station that had been up there before. It was the first spacecraft to visit the ISS a second time since the Shuttle Atlantis in 2011. And only 4 entities has ever launched a space capsule into orbit and successfully brought it back. The United States, Russia, China, and Elon Musk. But SpaceX really got the whole world's attention in February 2018 when they launched their Falcon Heavy for the first time. It was the biggest rocket in use in the world. And then the magical moment happened when the 2 side boosters came back down and landed simultaneously. This was truly a mind-blowing sight, and the whole world suddenly seemed to be following and cheering SpaceX. And the landings just seemed to become a very normal thing. And SpaceX launched more rockets to space than any other. And today SpaceX has launched the Falcon 9 over 100 times, landed 62 times and reflown 44. SpaceX has truly become the transportation of choice to orbit. And SpaceX has also made the first ride-sharing service for a rocket company. When they're flying to space anyway, you can hitch a ride and send 200 kilos to space for only $1 million. Now suddenly space is reachable for even smaller companies. And that is because SpaceX is innovating in other areas than just the rockets. And that is making satellites. SpaceX is the company on the planet that is making the most satellites. And they are sending 60 satellites into space at a time. And SpaceX is producing 120 satellites a month, which is also a major achievement. To put it in perspective, Iridium, which previously held the record for largest commercial satellites constellation, was manufacturing satellites at a rate at about 6 satellites per month at the peak of their production, and SpaceX is hammering 120 out a month. And why are they making so many satellites? Well, it's because they would like to make cheap, fast, reliable internet to every corner of the world. And if you live in the big city where there's fast internet, or maybe even live a place where you have 5G internet on your phone as well, you might not get why this is so important. But there are some places where this will be life-changing. One of such places is Pecanticum, which has been early testers of the SpaceX Starlink internet.
For me personally and professionally, the most rewarding one. I've never worked with a community or a customer or a client that's been more excited about something or happier. And I don't know what could be more rewarding than that.
After many, many months of trying to get internet to Pecanticum through other means, Dave was really determined to find a different way. He began doing a lot of research and eventually reached out to SpaceX.
They went back and they got the approval, and they came back to me and said that Pecanticum was going to be the first SpaceX Starlink client in Canada. You know, that changed everything from that moment on.
I work for Pecanticum Health Authority. I'm a community person who really believes in their community, and I hope that it gives the younger generations a little bit of hope. We're creating a pathway for the younger people.
It's a long time coming. The biggest thing will be accessing services. I think that was the biggest issue for us.
Better services in terms of how health is delivered remotely and education.
Up until Thursday of last week, you couldn't get a college education from Pecanticum. You can now. That access to that information allows them to change the world and shape their path and future.
This is a monumental deal. I mean, for the community of Pecanticum to be able to have high-speed internet within 15 minutes of it landing on the ground is incredible.
Yeah, you're laughing because you know what it was like before. Before it was like three. Like 3.
So yet another SpaceX project that is going to change the world and help billions of people. And SpaceX has also taken on the most demanding and scary task of them all, flying humans into space. And yet another date that would go down in history is the 30th of May 2020, when the first private rocket company in the history flew humans into space and docked with the International Space Station, and 2 astronauts, Doug and Bob, became the first humans to fly with a private-made rocket to the ISS. And they have even made another successful flight to the ISS with 4 other astronauts. Yes, SpaceX has become the cheapest ticket to orbit, and in 2020 alone they have made 26 launches. Something Elon did predict back in 2012, that SpaceX would be the company to do this.
Do you believe that your rocket will be the next American rocket to take an astronaut into space?
I believe that is the most likely outcome, yes.
And yet another sight that captured the imagination of the human race was SpaceX's biggest project to date, the massive Starship rockets. And we have just seen the prototype SN8 take off and made a belly flop, skydived back down to the landing pad, made a power flip and landed back down. Unfortunately, some of the engines failed and the landing was a bit too hard. But as we have seen before with SpaceX, they do blow up stuff to learn how to do what no one has ever done before. So I have no doubt that this was just the beginning of our journey to become a spacefaring civilization. First step for a frequent flight to the moon, flight to Mars and beyond. The Starship is the first step of making space travel affordable.
What this heralds really is fundamentally a new era in spaceflight, a new era in space exploration. We're going to go to the moon. We're going to have a base on the moon. We're going to send people to Mars, and make life multiplanetary. And I think this day heralds a new age of space exploration.
SpaceX, together with Tesla, is the most popular companies for engineers to go work for in the USA. And not hard to understand why.
You know, I'm curious, you have so much background in engineering. You could have easily gotten a job at Boeing or at Lockheed, but you came here.
If you had a chance to go back in time and work with Howard Hughes when he was creating TWA, if you had a chance to be there at that moment when it was the dawn of a brand new era, wouldn't you want to do that? I mean, that's why I'm here.
So SpaceX has done something others said was impossible, made history many times. But the most crazy thing is, Elon and his amazing team at SpaceX is just getting started.
Anyone who knows and cares about space exploration knows and cares about Elon Musk. And there's a subset of them who say, other people don't realize it yet, but we are on the frontier of the future of civilization. I don't think he gets his full due from all sectors of society, but ultimately he will, when the sectors that he is pioneering transform the lives of those who currently have no clue that their life is about to change. Go Elon Musk. And I don't care if he gets high.
I'm probably not the guy that most people would bet on.
Who wins?
It's like a little kid fighting a bunch of sumo wrestlers. Usually the sumo wrestlers win. We're a little scrappy company. Every now and again, the little scrappy company wins. And I think this will be one of those times.
You know, I think this is something that the whole world can take some pleasure in, and can really look at this as an achievement of humanity. And there's, you know, these are difficult times when, you know, there's not that much good news, and I think this is one of those things that is universally good, no matter where you are on planet Earth. This is a good thing, and I hope it brightens your day. Thank you.